Alright everyone, Trump is decrying a series of witch hunts that have been lodged after him, and I partially concur. Now, you've got to separate two things here. When you're talking about Trump having a witch hunt that's after him, Congress has a responsibility to investigate the Comey memo. The witch hunt is not the fact that Comey wrote it or the fact that it's going to be investigated by a sort of a special prosecutor. That's all above board and well and good. And people saying, oh, they're going to fabricate evidence against him. I don't think that the investigation will come to any fruition. I think that what it's actually going to lead to is an admission by many of these intel heads when they're called forth to testify that there is no solid evidence that Trump colluded with the Russians or that the Russians directly interfered with the election beyond, oh yeah, they trolled on Twitter or something like that. That happens all the time, and it's not really an influencing factor in the elections anyway. It's not like, oh yeah, the Russians came and hacked the voting machines. Totally different things. That's what I expect to happen. You can see the groundwork, by the way, being laid for that now. The witch hunt is predominantly from the corporate media and from some of the never-Trump Republicans that are convinced that his presidency will fail, he'll be a lame duck in his first year, won't get removed, but he'll get nothing accomplished, he'll be out, and that the Democrats will probably carry the next election. The McCains, the Lindsey Grahams, they're hedging their bets apparently on Trump failing. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll be quite surprised about what ends up actually occurring, but that's the bet that they're making. It's sort of like during the election, a lot of people, including a lot of Republicans, didn't expect Trump to win. They backed off of him, they criticized him, and he still won. Then they had to make up the difference with him and suck his dick, essentially, for months. And now they're looking for any excuse to go back on that because now, once again, they've been convinced, largely by the media, the legacy media, that is, that his presidency is somehow failing. But here's a little tell that you can use. Salon, far left, well, not technically leftist, social justice warriors, yeah, more neoliberals. They were in the pocket of Clinton during the election and used to ramble about how bad Bernie Sanders was because he wouldn't drop out after the first state that he lost, or they talked about, oh, it's okay for the DNC to fuck him over. Bernie's fans are sexist because they were, you know, some of them won't vote for Hillary. You need to shut the fuck up. Who needs the far left? We've got neoliberalism, how well it worked with Obama. Drone strikes are great. War with Iran's great. They were Clintonians. Salon comes out with a series of articles throughout the last few days calling for impeachment, saying, oh yeah, Trump, it would be wonderful if he was gone. He's the orange Hitler. What a horrible man. They come out this morning, and this shows that they're no longer, I think, convinced that Trump will actually be impeached. They're laying the groundwork for that not to occur. They say in their article, don't hold your breath. Trump will bribe somebody. Trump will be, it'll be a cover-up. Trump will, you know, sick his Russian trolls on the investigation. Somehow he'll prevail anyway because he's just a total corrupt clusterfuck. See, they're not confident he's actually going to get impeached because they're not confident that any evidence of collusion will be found. Therefore, they have to lay the groundwork ahead of time to say when that happens, when he's not impeached, oh, we told you so, justice will never be served. Trump is so corrupt that he doesn't even get nailed for corruption. It's essential a way of them saying, getting out of responsibility for making a series of predictions that he would get impeached. And articles saying how wonderful it would be if he was, because they know that he's probably not. And that's what I think. I don't think this investigation is going to cause Trump to be impeached. I think it'll exonerate him. I think what you're about to see is that this special prosecutor is going to come, gather evidence, so-called, talk to the other intel heads, and time again, what are they going to say? We don't have direct evidence that Trump colluded with Russia. We have speculation and we have claims by the corporate media. And that's all we fucking have. The only evidence that they're likely to dig up is that the Russians had a bunch of sock accounts that they trolled Democratic pages with during the election. Which is not a problem. It happens all the time. The U.S. Air Force manages, I think they formed years and years ago, I think it was like 2010 or something. They formed an army of sock accounts to vote up their own pages. And to sort of lay waste to pages they didn't like. That was the U.S. Air Force. It was widely reported on at the time. People act like it never happened. And that's the fucking Air Force. Can you imagine what the FBI does, or the CIA, the NSA, the State Department, all these other groups? They have armies of sock accounts. So does Russia. Yeah, of course they do. The Chinese do at the same time. They have the great cannon that they want to use to be able to take down sites that they want in the West that are critical of their commie policies. But yeah, I don't expect Trump to be impeached. I think he'll escape more or less unscathed. What the corporate press witch hunt will do is, when he is exonerated, when it turns out that once and for all, no, he's not colluding with the Russians, they will once again regress to baby mode, slam their fists against the table and say, oh, the justice system doesn't bring people to justice. Corruption somewhere is responsible for Trump not being impeached. And they'll complain about it because they have to keep up that same tired Russia line at the behest of the DNC, because the story begins to fall apart if they don't. Well, let me ask this. Why do you think they continue with this one particular attack line, which so far hasn't really done that much to Trump other than alienate him from 10 pearl clutchers in the country? It's because the original story wasn't meant to be an attack line against Trump. The original Russia shit was related to hacking of the DNC. They were covering their asses in their own corruption. They realized, oh shit, the public has all of our emails. They realize we're corrupt. We're bribing the corporate media, which isn't good for them, and they're our corporate partners. We have to shield them. They realize we're in bed with multinational banks, that Hillary Clinton is really in league with Goldman Sachs. She's basically a Mitt Romney character. They realize we're screwing several of the other candidates in the field because we've wanted to coronate Hillary this whole time. They've realized X, Y, and Z. They've realized that we're corrupt. We have to blame Russia for this. So they did. They blamed Russia in order to shift the public debate away from the corruption of the Democratic Party onto Russia. Now they have to keep it up at every possible opportunity for the foreseeable future. They have to chalk everything up to collusion with Russia. Trump does something and they want to criticize it, they have to link him to Russia. The government fails to impeach Trump, it has to be due to some sort of Russian influence. Everything has to be Russia. It's the Red Scare all over again. Putin himself has to come out and call it political schizophrenia, because he's tired of dealing with that shit too. I am sorry, but the Russian state does not have the capability to influence our election system and our politics to the degree that the DNC wishes that they did. They don't have enough money, for one thing, to do so. They probably don't even have enough tech-literate individuals to pull something like that off. The claim that Trump is connected to Russia is largely predicated upon an excuse made by the DNC during the election to cover their own asses. They ran with it when they realized that at least the Democratic partisans accepted that concept, and they're hoping to export that to independent voters and never Trump Republicans. It was never true. I still don't believe it's true, and that's why I believe that the corruption probe will lead nowhere, except possibly to Trump's exoneration. If he is as good as strategy as he showed himself to be during the election, what I think he's hoping is that the investigation does exist. I think he's hoping for a full investigation, because that means that the heads of the FBI and CIA and everyone else will have to come forward and testify before Congress, possibly in a meeting open to the public. No, we found no evidence of this. We found no evidence of collusion. We speculate, we guess, but we've got no evidence. And that's how they'll do their cop-out thing, because they don't like Trump. And then the Democratic Party will have to swallow its own load, and it'll be funny to watch. That's what I expect to happen. The witch hunt is coming largely from the corporate media in collusion with the DNC, though. It's not coming from Congress, per se. Yes, some of the never-Trumpers, a few of the Democrats. Mostly, though, they have no choice but to investigate. I don't even think Trump cares. He doesn't appear to be worried. He appears to be someone, judging based on what he says and how he says it over the last few days, he's someone who is annoyed, but not somebody who is frightened. He's simply annoyed. I think he's annoyed at all the stonewalling going on, hopes that the investigation is quick so that it'll knock his enemies out of his way because he knows he hasn't colluded with the Russians. That's what I think he hopes. That's about all. Peace out.